we make things. We use our hands, minds, and machines to build, to fix, to improve. We're known as do-it-yourselfers, home improvement fans, fix-it fanatics, inventors. At our core, though, we're all makers. So let's jump in and make something. Hi, I'm Ron Hazelton. If you're thinking about building a wall, you'll almost certainly be working with a drywall or wallboard. Putting up this material using an adhesive allows you to use fewer fasteners and creates a wall with improved sound deadening that's also amazingly airtight. Ever thought about changing a standard interior entryway into a graceful curved archway? Well, here's a kit that makes it surprisingly quick and easy. You'll have to see it to believe it. Whether used as a rotating shelf for condiments or as a means of sharing a communal meal, the Lazy Susan has been around since the 18th century. Now you can make your own. I'll show you how. Most homes built in the last 50 years rely on drywall for interior wall construction. Over time, these walls may develop what are called nail pops, unsightly bumps or bulges that can be a real eyesore. Nail pops can occur whether wallboard is attached with nails or screws. It's caused by framing lumber drying out and shrinking after construction is completed, sometimes leaving a small gap between the framing and the backside of the drywall. An inadvertent bump or even the sudden change in air pressure from a slamming door can cause the wallboard to move, pushing the fastener head outward. Applying drywall adhesive before installing wallboard can prevent nail pops from happening. When using a drywall adhesive, trim the cartridge nozzle to create an opening of between 1/4 and 3/8 of an inch. Then puncture the inner seal. Apply an even bead of adhesive to the center of the wall studs. Set the drywall in place, press firmly, and screw or nail the perimeter. In addition to eliminating nail pops, there are other advantages to using a drywall adhesive. Wallboard that's installed this way often requires fasteners only around the perimeter, whereas drywall put up with just screws or nails calls for several additional fasteners in the center or field. It's also said that drywall installed with an adhesive can help eliminate drafts and provide sound dampening. I decided to find out for myself by building a couple of test models. On one frame, I attached the wallboard with adhesive and screws. And on the other, I used only screws. Then I connected a hose from the exhaust port on my shop vac to the back of the test modules and began forcing air inside. On the screw-only prop, it was clear to see that there was considerable leakage at the edges of the wallboard. While on the screw and adhesive frame, there was virtually no evidence of escaping air. Then I subjected both units to the tom-tom test. It was clear to me that there was much less sound transmission on the frame with the adhesive. It seems that installing drywall with an adhesive seals against drafts, buffers sound, reduces the likelihood of nail pops, and cuts down the number of fasteners required. All good reasons to consider this approach the next time you're putting up a wall. You know, when it comes to first impressions, entryways communicate a lot. They can be inviting, welcoming, in effect say, hey, come on in. Here, inside the foyer, I've got a second chance to make a first impression. Now, what I want to do is install a decorative archway so that I can frame this opening into the living room. Now, when I was at the International Builders Show last year, I saw something that caught my eye. So I'm going to go online and see if I can find it. A Google search under Curved Archway Kit leads me to www.curvemakers.com. After a little bit of exploration around their website, I find what I'm looking for. So I place my order. A few weeks later, I get the word that the kit is on its way. So I go to work preparing the opening. The first step is removing the existing casings and jamb. To keep from damaging the surrounding wall, I first cut through the paint and caulk with a utility knife. Now, I like this style knife for the job because I can simply break away a dull blade, exposing a fresh cutting edge. For this job, no question about it, sharp is better. To keep from crushing or breaking the wallboard, I drive a wide putty knife behind the casing. Tap in this flat, spoon-shaped bar and pry the trim gently away. Once I've opened up a gap, I switch to this type of pry bar, which gives me more leverage and movement. It's not unusual for the casing to pull off the nails, leaving them still embedded. A pry bar or hammer will pull them out, but again, I use the wide putty knife to keep from damaging the wall. Typically, the door frame or jamb is nailed into the framing at several points. The nails are usually driven through shims. For me, the quickest way to free the frame is by cutting through the nails with a reciprocating saw, using a multi-purpose blade that's designed to cut both wood and metal nails. With all the nails cut, the door frame tilts right out of the opening. I'll also have to remove the baseboards, once again using the wide putty knife to protect the walls. Well, I've encountered a small hitch. It seems these switches are too close to the opening and will prevent the archway column from slipping into place. The solution is to move them a couple of inches to the left. First, I remove the switches from the electrical box and then begin cutting away the wallboard so I can gain access to the wiring. Next, I remove the staples holding the armored cable in place and pry the electrical box bracket free from the wall stud. What I'm hoping to do is screw a 2x4 to the stud and attach a 1x4 on top, then remount the box. If I have enough slack in the cable, I can do it. It works. Now it's time to replace the wallboard. First, I attach cleats or backer boards to the left, top, and bottom edges of the opening. Then, using 80 grit sandpaper, I create a small bevel around the opening and on the edge of the patch. Then attach the drywall with several screws. This technique stabilizes the joint and, along with the bevel, will allow me to make a completely flush repair without the need for tape. I can simply apply the compound, press it firmly into the joint and over the recessed screw heads, then skim off the excess. I'll let this dry, do a light sanding, and probably come back with a second coat. Well, once I get a coat of paint on that, you'll never know I was inside that wall. Now, chances are you won't have to relocate an electrical switch if you decide to put in an archway. But you know what I found? More often than not, I do run into some kind of little problem, some detour. And as you can see, it's just not that big a deal to handle it. Well, I'm going to grab my archway. Now, it's time to bring in the new archway and get the opening ready to receive it. Well, this is my Archway kit. Now, even though it's very detailed, it really only has 3 components: an Archway header and 2 Archway columns. You know, you're going to be really amazed at how easily this goes in. The first step in preparing the opening for the Archway kit is installing 1x4 cleats to the framing on the upper corners. Once they're in place, I attach wallboard using drywall screws. Now, I'm careful to countersink the screw head slightly, but not enough to break the paper face. When I finish the first side, I move on to the other. Now I put the columns into place temporarily and set a cardboard template that comes with the kit on top. With a marker, I trace the template outline onto the wallboard. Then remove the template and the columns. Using a drywall saw, I cut along the line, creating a curve that will form the top of the archway. Finally, I apply joint compound to the seams and skim off the excess. With the modifications to the opening complete, I install the first column by slipping it over the edge and pushing it into place. Next, I slide the archway header into position and use a piece of 1x2 to brace it. Notice how I've cut the brace just a little long so that it forms a slight bend when it's wedged into position. Now I fit the second column over the left side of the opening. Check both columns for plumb, then lower the header so that it's resting on top of the columns. Finally, I use a finished nail gun to secure the columns and header to the framing. Just a few nails are all that's needed. The nail holes are easily filled with spackle. Then it's time to apply a coat of primer that will be top-coated with a semi-gloss enamel. You know, I think the word elegant is often overused, but in this case, I believe it applies. And this was as easy as 1, 2, 3. I can never have enough counter space or cabinet space. How about you? Well, one way to get some more without a lot of trouble or expense is to build a Lazy Susan. And that is what we're going to do right now. Very simple. We're going to start with a couple of wooden squares like this. This is 3/4 inch birch plywood. On top of that, we're going to put one of these bearings. We'll mount this on top of the base, put the turntable on top. Of course, these will be cut into circles first. Simple project, great results, so let's start. Now we'll be using a jigsaw to cut those squares into circles, and well, we could do this by hand, but sort of following a line around there, but you know what? I can never really get a really clean circle that way. So what I want to do is make up a circle cutting jig for the jigsaw. Very, very simple to do. I'm going to make it out of this material right here. This is a 1/4 inch tempered hardboard. And we'll start by clamping this to the workbench. Then I'm going to take a square and draw myself a line, just like that. Now we'll take the jigsaw and cut right down the line to that mark. Now what I want to do is attach this circle cutting template to the bottom of our jigsaw temporarily while we cut this circle. And the best way to do that, I believe, is going to be to use some of this double stick carpet tape. Now, we'll take the jigsaw, place it in this groove that we cut earlier, stick it right onto our template. Next, I set the assembly on the wooden blank with the jigsaw blade touching the edge. Then drive in a small nail as a pivot point and get ready to cut. All I've got to do now is move the saw in a circle, and we should have a pretty accurate disc here. The cutting platform I'm using here is 3 pieces of plywood bound together and to my workbench with double stick tape. But anyway, there we go. Perfect circle. Next, I repeat the process to cut a smaller circle for the base of the Lazy Susan. Now we are going to turn plywood into something that looks like solid wood by using a material called wooden edge banding. This is it right here. It actually is a strip of solid wood, very, very thin, with a hot melt adhesive on the back of it. And it couldn't be simpler to use. In fact, all you need is the edge banding and a regular iron. We'll lay this in position, just kind of make sure that it's centered over the edge. The iron is on hot. Now, as we apply heat to the face of the tape, we're softening up that hot melt glue on the back. And we want to use a lot of pressure on the iron right here, but I don't usually rely just on the iron. I like to take a roller like this. This is a laminate roller, and just come over on top of it just to make sure that that gets pressed down very securely. When I finally come around to the starting point, I overlap the edging on top of itself. Then make a diagonal cut through both layers, leaving a nice clean joint. Now this is that bearing that we're going to be using. We want to make sure that we mount this exactly in the center of the base. This is actually a center finding tool right here. And you'll notice that these lines are all crossing at one point. That's the center of the circle right there. Now I can take the bearing and just pretty much by eye now place it in the center. And then we can attach this with some panhead screws. Next, we rotate the other side of the bearing a few degrees, pass an awl through one of the mounting holes, make a starter mark on the wood, and drill a 1/2 inch hole all the way through. This is our bottom. Now we set the base in place, bottom side up, and rotate it until the hole we just drilled lines up with a mounting hole on the bearing plate. Then we insert the screws that will attach the bearing plate to the top. We repeat the process for all 4 holes of the plate. And finally, I apply these 4 self-adhesive plastic feet, which will keep our Lazy Susan stable on any surface. Well, here it is, our Lazy Susan. Now, why do you think they call it Lazy Susan? Why not Lazy Larry or Lazy Ron? Well, whatever you call it, it's bound to give you more storage space. If you'd like some more information on how to build your own, be sure to check our website, ronhazelton.com.
To view today's projects again, visit ronhazelton.com, where you'll find hundreds of how-to videos available 24/7. Free home improvement videos online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.